let's talk about the past, and more specifically, how other people and you may even weaponize the past. I'm Lauren Kay Wyatt. I'm a psychic, spiritual advisor, transformational coach, and pet psychic. And the past it's interesting because it can give us so much information about who we are. And after years have gone by, we can often get a lot of clarity when we look back. It's also fun to have memories and to be nostalgic and to remember the time when and all of these things. But when the past can really be almost a detriment to us is when we get lost in it. This is when we don't want to move forward from a good time or the glory days in our lives, or we feel trapped by things that have happened. Maybe we run a traumatic situation or a choice that we made that we regret over and over in our heads. And the thing is, when we do that, as you know, it's really hard to move forward. And in this, again, it's kind of a confrontational conversation, but that's what we've been doing lately on Wisdom Wednesday. And if you don't know already, Wisdom Wednesday is the spiritual accompaniment to my weekly predictions. And the weekly predictions are predictions and psychic insights that I send my mailing list every Friday. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and do that. The link is in the comments for that. And in the weekly predictions, we talked about different things like self-comparison and how easy it is to look at what isn't going well in our lives or what's wrong in our lives. And this is something else. This is another way that Junior likes to sabotage. Junior is my word for ego, if you don't already know. So when we're in the past, we're not in the present, and we're definitely not living in the future of what could be, but instead we're operating from this place of fear. We can have a fear of moving forward. Again, last week, we talked about how so many of us can have, like, our whole identity can become the circumstances in our lives that we perceive as being a problem, and how it can be hard to move forward when we're so identified with whatever in our life we perceive to be a problem. Now, when we talk about the past, sometimes you'll hear some people say things like, hey, in order for this to work, you're just going to have to let the past go. And what's funny about that is that in some instances, you really do need to let the past go and have a fresh start. However, people who don't want to be accountable or think that they're above being accountable will usually be the people who tell you things like that. Like, you need to let the past go. You can't just, live in the past of the things that I've done. And again, it's an illusion, because on one hand, that is true, but it also completely lacks personal responsibility. Where if a true reckoning occurred, like if you, or like, let's say you did do something that you regret in the past. I mean, we've all made decisions where we're like, oh my gosh, like, why'd I do that? But we can't beat ourselves up for it, because then it becomes counterproductive. So in order to move forward, you do need to let the past go, but you first need to be accountable for the choices that you've made. And you can do that with yourself first. And if you've harmed anyone else with the choices that you've made, you can make amends. You can be accountable with that person if it's appropriate, whatever it is. Now, when someone says you just need to let the past go and they have not taken that step of being accountable for the things they've done, that's a really big red flag where the past is almost being used as a weapon, where you're feeling crazy or viewing yourself as a problem for wanting some accountability. Now, at the same time, if you're the person who's being told you just need to let the past go, and the other person hasn't been accountable for what they've done or haven't done, if you continue to stay in that dynamic, and if things don't really change, except you're not allowed to talk about what happened and the other person doesn't want to talk about what happened because they don't want to be accountable, well, you're weaponizing the past too, but you're doing it as a weapon against yourself. You're preventing yourself from moving forward. And moving on with this conversation here, whenever you're trapped in a memory of the past, or you're in this like negative loop of regret, or you're beating yourself up, or you're obsessing over like the wrongs that someone else has done to you, that can keep you from moving forward as well. And while you do need to sit with yourself and your emotions, it is also completely up to you to make new choices. Yes, the circumstances may not change overnight. You may not feel great about what's going on. You may feel uncomfortable about moving forward with your life. This is what transformation does. This is what healing is. But the key is that you need to trust that just because these things have happened, they don't have to happen again. And what I want you to really take from that is, while you cannot control what someone else does or doesn't do, you definitely have control over how you respond. Part of that response could be simply not engaging. It can be releasing the need to be right. It can be noticing you're in a negative loop and acknowledging it, loving yourself, and putting your energy into something that is much more productive, that helps your overall well-being. Now, this takes discipline. It takes practice to take good care of yourself this way. And if you find that you're in this place where you're living in the past, or you're in comparison, like, wow, like all these other people are so far ahead of me, or why haven't I done that? That's just another way to keep you where you are. And maybe where you are is just fine. Things don't have to look different to be different. You can feel different about yourself. You can treat yourself with love and respect. You can give yourself grace and peace as you move forward. So thank you so much for spending time with me. I'm Lauren Kay Wyatt. I'm a psychic, spiritual advisor, transformational coach, and pet psychic. And if this resonates with you, if it didn't, if you have a comment, whatever, I would love to hear from you. You're more than welcome to comment here. All right. Thank you so much.